So, am I audible and the screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
So, let's talk about the third unit of direct taxation. Let's talk about third unit of direct taxation. The second unit we just covered about salary deductions, and for computation we'll take another session because competition requires some provision to be discussed for all the laws. So what I'll do, computation of total income will cover in lecture when I finish capital gain, because I'm going to add capital gain also part of competition. Now let's talk about the third unit, that is income from business and profession. If I just want to summarize what is business and profession, what I can say, it is an income. It is an income which I earn from my business activity. It is an income which I earn by means of doing some activity which will be defined as business, and it is not. Income Tax Act 1961, the any activity where income and expenditure is generated by means of some activity, service, or goods rather than relationship as employer-employee, it is called as income from business and profession. Now, when I say income from business and profession, I have to also understand what is my business and what is my non-business. So, if anything which is non-business income, then that income is not allowed as income from business and profession, and the income, sorry, expenses which is not business. So, if I just want to summarize, I'll just share the whiteboard. So, as per this, the we have two formulas. One, type of income. Second, relation. So, in case of Income Tax Act, to call anything from business, I require type of income. Now, when I say type of income, I mean to say this income earned is out of sale or out of goods or out of commission or any business activity which I perform. This is not an income which I have derived from salary or wages or commission. So if this income is not derived from either salary or wages, but if it is from sale of goods, it is transfer of goods, or completion of some service or act, then it is business income. Secondly, the relationship of payer and receiver, or seller and buyer, or relationship of supplier and purchaser. is there, where relationship of employee and employer does not exist. Similarly, this income is not equal occurrence Jan, Feb, March, and April. The occurrence which totally depend on something what we call sale, something we call goods traded, or something we call transfer of ownership. So when I say income from business and profession, I talk about my activity which is business minded, not salary and profession. Now here, to recognize anything income as a business and profession, the most important part is something known as TAN. Now what is TAN? Anybody's idea? TAN is an account number which is like PAN, where your business will have certification for trading activity number. And this number is generated on the basis of your permanent account number, which we normally do for individual basis. So for individual, we have something called as a PAN number, that is permanent account number. On this basis, we generate something called as a TAN number, that is transaction analysis numbers, but actually we call it TAN. So these numbers are required to recognize whether I'm doing a business or not. Just selling goods in Diwali, some crackers will not call as a business. But when I'm dealing with the business, it should be uneven occurrence. It should be purposive. It can be registered or unregistered company. It can be seasonal or it can be any other company, but need a trading activity. Now, if I want to recognize what is income from business and profession, first I need to classify whether that is the business income or not. So I have two classification, business and second classification, non-business. Now, to understand meaning of business and non-business, the business means it is trading, that is manufacturing, it is trading, and it is service delivery. Whereas non-business indicates anything which is not operation. So anything which is not from operation, it is non-business. Anything which I record as a salary, it is non-business. Anything I get as a gift or anything which I get as a capital gain is non-business. So in this chapter, we have to classify business and non-business. Then we have to find out provisions against same and do the valuation. So let's discuss more. Now I switch back to the PPT. So what is business? As per section 2, subsection 30, a business is something where I will be dealing about manufacturing, purchase and sale, and trading operations and providing service. So, as per section 2, subsection 13, if any activity for a profit motive, now please remember here motive is most important because for social motive, if I do purchase or sale of anything, then that is not called as a business. So, any commercial activity which is conducted as a purchase or sale of goods, manufacturing or processing of goods, or delivering of service, or doing some trading operations for a profit motive is called as business. Then, what is the profession? In business, if we just summarize, everything is about trading. But when I talk about profession, as per section 2, subsection 36, It is application of my knowledge like medical, legal, accounting, and consulting. Here, specialized personal skills are applied. So, when I talk about business, it's more important for sale of goods or purchase of goods. But when I talk about profession, it is talk about specialized skills applied for various activities. So, as per Section 28, if any income to be charged as a business, then what are the conditions? First, profits or gains from any business provision is carried out in previous year. Any compensation or payment made to the agent is also a business. Any trade income or trade association of goods or services, it's a income. Any export incentives or any income incentives or any other incentives or any tax concession, it is also recognized as business income. So, as per Income Tax Act, these all incomes primarily fall as a part of income from business and profession. Now, what is constitute chargeable income under gains from business and profession? One, your profits which you earn is chargeable as tax. Second, under special agreement, if you received any property rights, actual rights, or anything other, then it is chargeable to the tax. Similarly, if any remuneration as a partner or any consultancy charges as a member or any agency are received as my business and profession, then it is included as the profits and gains from business and profession. So whatever the activity I'm doing, I need to check whether that activity is about business, whether it's salary or non-salary. And taking into that consideration, I can take a call about salary and non-salary aspects. So most important, there should not be relation between employer and employee. The income should be continuous. It should not be form of any contract. It is just an outcome of trading activity or giving services. Now let's talk about computation of income from business and profession. Step one, what we do, we first find out net profit or loss shown in financial statement. We take the bottom figure of profit and loss account, which shows profit or loss. Then we find out what is business and what is non-business. So in second step, allow and disallow of expenses has to be done. For example, if it is the expenses which are not permitted, for example, if I made an expenses to pay my daughter's fee out of business income, then daughter's fee is non-business expenditure. It is not allowed. Similarly, if my father gifted 2 crores as a capital to my business, then neither this is a capital for my business, not this considered as the income from my business. So first I will disallow the expenses, then I will disallow the income which is not business. The income like capital or expenses like any medical practice, any party, any communications, and so on. So I'll find first profit and loss, and from profit and loss, I will add those income which is sorry, I will remove those income which is not from business, and I'll add that expenses which are non-business. For example, if my business is of transportation, and if I get some income by selling house, then that is not business. Since my business is transportation, I should only count income received from transportation. I cannot count income received from any other source. Similarly, if I pay penalty of 5,000 for crossing a signal. Now, even though crossing a signal is a transportation activity, but breaking down rules is not my regular activity. So, what is the penalty? What are the charges addition to the normal? they are non-business. So first find out net profit after loss, reduce it by non-allowed expenses that is which are not related to business. And if any income is there which is received from other source than the in a business, then you need to remove it. After following this step, we go to next step that whatever the part remains, it is considered to be income from business and profession. There are certain expenses in a financial statement which are not allowed as a deduction. So if the expenses are not allowed, then that expenses need to be adjusted before calculating income from business and profession. Now these are examples. First, drawing by proprietor or partner, income tax or wealth payment for partners, personal fines and penalty for partners. These are personal expenses. These expenses has nothing to do with the business. And since even though as per accounting standard, they are belong to the business, but ultimately the benefit of this business is earned by the members, partners, board of directors, and other people. So in this case, what are the personal expenses? They are not allowed to show as expenses. Now, if I have already shown these expenses, then I have to add their value in a profit to get an exact correct amount of what we can say income from business and profession. Then, if I transfer some money or I make some provisions, except depreciation, all the provisions I need to revise that cannot be shown as a business expenses. Because keeping some provision or making some provision like bad debts, doubtful debts, or contingency is not a regular activity of business. It's my planning, it's my procedure, and it is my way of accounting where I create some provision so that future loss will not be there. But as per accounting standard, keeping reserves or making provision is not mandatory. It is expected in ideal condition to make the provisions for future unexpected or sudden losses. But as per Income Tax Act, it is cannot be considered as a part of calculation of profits from business. Then third, the other head includes expenses regarding property or investment or generation of income by way of gift, deeds, or some what you call magic or so on. That is again not considered as a business. Similarly, any payments received from relatives, cash payment above 10,000 or any extra payments which are received from known and unknown person for business, they are not allowed as income. I'm waiting for 2 minutes. Please read the slide. If any doubt, we can discuss. Otherwise, I'll just move further. Okay. So we'll just go further. What is allowed as deduction from profit? Because for a person, the amount taxable is his taxable income after deducting exemptions. But when I'm charging to a business, I'm charging tax based on amount of profit is earned. Now, what is allowed? The salary income, it means the amount of money which I have received as salary, it is allowed as deduction. Secondly, any income from house property, it is allowed deduction. Any capital gain, any dividend, or any interest income. Now, these incomes are allowed deductions subject to condition you are not claiming any benefit under different heads. Because when I say salary, this benefit is already taken in case of income from salary. When I say income from house property, capital gain, it is a separate chapter and it is considered under capital gain. as short term or long term. The dividend income is again calculated as part of capital gain. Similarly, interest income is a part of my income which is non-business if earned individually. So whatever these incomes, these are categorized or accounted under different heads of income, and since they are allowed under different heads, under business and profession, they are disallowed. Now, these are the income heads which are not allowed. Now, let's talk about the expense heads. The first, depreciation. Depreciation is from one pocket I did, and what I achieved, that this is a provision. This is a provision to avoid future requirements, to manage my future requirement. It can be replacements of my asset, it can be a sudden loss, or it can be any reason. But as per provisions of business and profession income, it is not allowed. Then, for scientific research, for scientific research, I have a certain percentage, that is 40% and 50% or 60% or 30%. As per mentioned rules, it is allowed. Now, scientific research, it means my own lab or outside lab. If I'm making some expenses and that is related to my business, it is allowed. But if my research is not generating any income and it is going to generate in future, then when it start earning income in future, then these scientific expenses are allowed. Unless and until scientific research become mercantile. What is mercantile? It means that can be used in trade activity. They are not allowed. Similarly, any specific welfare expenses or CSR activity expenses, they are not allowed as expenses. Any donations or any charity activity, they are not business. So, in case of depreciation, allowed percentage is allowed, scientific research allowed percentage are allowed, but the subject to condition after starting manufacturing activity. But in any case, welfare expenses and donations, they are strictly not allowed. So any doubt in this? Okay, we'll move further. Premises expenses under section 30. These expenses are deducted for business when they are allowed. For example, rent of factory, if it is paid, then it is allowed. So whatever the rent I'm paying for business premises or for acquiring the location or house or building where I need to carry business activities, it is allowed. Lease payments means long-term rent more than one financial year. If I take it, it is lease. If lease is taken regarding business premises, it is allowed. Local tax and rates or local charges and surcharges regarding property which belong to my business activity place, it is allowed. Similarly, in case rents prepaid or outstanding, they are only allowed at actual pay. The second thing, repairs and insurance. Now, repairs and insurance talk about section 31, 32. If anything is done for appreciation of asset or anything is revised for revision of payments, it is not allowed. But if I repair non-capital building expenses, then that is allowed as a revenue expenses. But if I do capital appreciation and depreciation, that is accounted as capital gain, not as regular cap expenses. Similarly, machinery, plants, and insurance premium, if associated regarding business or business product or business process, they are allowed. In other case, they are not allowed. If any interest or dividend paid for capital. If any bank charges or any contribution made to the welfare fund, then these expenses are considered. So what we can revise, in case of business and profession, if I have bank charges, discount on bill, employee contributions, interest, everything as per section 36, for business exempted, for individual not exempted. Building repairs which are not analyzed as part of capital gain are allowed. Machinery maintenance, plant repairing, insurance premium for business risk, it is allowed. Rent for business premises or lease for business premises or any corrections or upgradation business premises, this is totally allowed. So these are the certain expenses which are allowed to form as a part while calculating income from business and profession. Further, these are the details of expenses which are not allowed. Now, I'll wait for some time. Please go through the slide, then we continue discussion. So, uh, a capital expenditure, which is regarding issue of capital, pay of capital, buying technical rights or technical arrangements, goodwill or erosion, these expenses are classified as capital expenses, and these all expenses are accounted under gains and income for business and profession. So these incomes are not considered, sorry, these expenses are not considered as business. Then anything which is paid for person like family trip, personal vehicle, life insurance, club membership, these expenses are also not allowed since they belong to the individual. They do not belong to something called as a business. So they are not allowed. Then any losses, then these are not expenses. This is a mere calculation of profit and loss. Any investment loss is again similar treatment like loss. If any expenses for illegal business, they are strictly not allowed since they are not legal form of business. If any political donations, they are exempted as a part of other sections, but directly their expenses are not allowed to calculate from business and profession. Under section 45, they are allowed as a special consideration and 100% exemption is allowed, but it has certain limitations. So these are the certain list of discontinued or non-allowed expenses. Now, in case of business and profession, as I said, it is allowed up to certain percentage, and more than that, it is disallowed. So let's talk about first. Depreciation is calculated under section 32 of business profits from business and profession. As per depreciation, what accounting answer, it is value of wear and tear caused by use of asset or it is provision made for reconstruction or repairing of capital assets and hence it is periodically paid. But when we actually charge a depreciation, it is the provision we made, but actual expenditures were not incurred. So depreciation is allowed on both tangible and intangible assets, but its percentage should be limited within the criteria or block of assets given. For example, different machineries under block of machinery are allowed for depreciation But if the definition of machinery is application of force and electricity, and if it is not applied, then that thing cannot be classified as machine. So first, I need to understand contents of this law, and I have to correlate with the business and personal expenses or income. If anything personal or non-business, then it is not part of income or expenses of profit and loss account. They need to be adjusted before calculation of final profits or gains from business and profession. Now, there are certain exceptional scenarios about business and profession. So let's talk about it. I'll wait for 2 minutes. Please go through the slide. Let's talk about inventory valuation, that is stock valuation. The first case is undervaluation. Undervaluation means when stock is 100, but if I show on trading account, in trading account, if I show 100 here, then this will increase my credit side and ultimately my profit will be increased. So what I do, I purposefully, instead of 100, I will show it as 90. Then when I show 90, the amount of profit margin will go down. So this is not allowed. I need to find out undervaluation and find out the expenses which are impacting my profit. And if I find difference is there, if it is undervalued, then I have to add. If it is overvalued, then I need to deduct. So based on valuation, I need to either add or less to find out exact. Now see here, this is for the closing stock. Similarly, I have to work for the opening stock. In case I found the documentation is incomplete, then I'm allowed to trace 5 years accounts to find method of valuation, and then the tax authorities are having free right to decide a consistency about valuation of inventory, and then they can calculate what is the gain and what is the not allowed expenses. Certainly, a business expenses which are not being part of regular activity, they will be not allowed. Now, in case if business makes a loss, these losses are known as accumulated loss. If you see the balance sheet, on balance sheet side, below current assets or after current assets, it is mentioned as profit and loss account, what we call normally accumulated loss. If any business has accumulated loss, it is allowed to discard in 5 consecutive years. It can be 100% in 1 year and 0% for the 4 years. Or it can be 10% for each year, and last fourth year, it can be 70%, and so on. But the deduction for loss is allowed. Now it is up to the vendor, or it is up to the manufacturer or the person who is earning income from business and profession to first decide what is nature of loss. Then find out relevancy of loss to the business and profession, and then analyze whether it's a business or non-business. And based on decision, please support with the evidence why you call business, why you call non-business. And then if non-business, then the losses will not be allowed as expenses. They will be added back to the income. Then what are other losses? We already discussed all these losses that they are not allowed. So I just wait for 2 minutes and then I'll summarize. So please read the slide. So capital asset loss is a part of my capital gain. This is part of my capital gain. Investment loss is again a part which is deductible as capital gain. Illegal activities are not allowed as Indian police guidelines and income tax guidelines. Since they are illegal, they are not allowed. If any anticipated loss expenses are analyzed and we make any provisions or charge depreciation, then charging of any provisional expenses or any deductions are not actually materialized, but only provisions are made. Then such expenses are not allowed. So first, whatever the expenses which are of capital or investment nature, they belongs to the capital gain. The illegal activities or illegal activity sponsor reasons are also not allowed as expenses. If I even though received income from either source, it is not allowed as business. It is only non-business. Similarly, if I make a provision or if I make anticipation about future outcomes, it can be profit or it can be loss. But if any consideration is not handed over, then contract will not be valid, and these kind of expenses are again not allowed as deduction from income, which is chargeable as head of business income from business profession. So considering these all expenses, I need to take a call what to be added and what not to be added. But as a benchmark, we can say what are good for business and what is related for business, they all are allowed. What are non-business, they are strictly not allowed as expenses. Now, how the competition is done. So we have already discussed this step and this is nothing but summary of our presentation. So I'll wait for 2 minutes. Please go through the slide, then we'll discuss. So any doubts? What we started in the chapters initially, that the first step is to analyze profit or loss. So in a profit or loss account, if the balancing figure is in debit side, it's a profit, but if it is on credit side, it will be loss. So I'll first find out profit and loss, then income under heads I'll need to analyze, and I'll find out allowed expenses and non-allowed expenses, incomes. So the part which is not allowed in case of incomes, which is non-business, I need to minus. And expenses, which are non-business, I need to add back to the profit. So reverse effect I get. So once from available profit, suppose profit is 10 rupees, and I have depreciation to then drawings, it is 5. So my net profit will be 10 minus 2 minus 5 will be 3. But as per business provisions, this is drawing. So this is not allowed. I can only minus 2 and my profit from business and profession will be 8, not 3. So I need to check whether that is relevant to business or not. If any small sum of money, then in that case, it is allowed to be considered business non-business as the discretionary power of user, providing he has authentication and documentation to talk about what is the process. But in case the amount is having more than 4 crores, then the evidences of meeting payments, evidences of purpose are need to be submitted to the income tax authorities to understand whether it's a business or non-business. Because at the end, non-business activities are not considered as income or expenses for calculation of gains and income from business and profession. So I'll wait again 2 minutes. You just please read and let me know if any doubt. If you have no doubts, we can just move for next slide. Even though you feel that I cannot speak, I do not have words, at least you can post your doubt in chat box. Okay, so we'll proceed further. Now, these are certain gains and income from business and profession. Okay, now we have to talk about which expenses allowed and not allowed. We talk about what is business gain, and then we talk about how to manage the same. So these are details. What is meant by business and profession income, and how it is chargeable to tax. Now let's talk about what are the allowed and disallowed expenses. First, for allowed and disallowed, the primary important thing I should understand what is the business and what is non-business. I follow a particular formula for recognizing income, that is formula which we call income from business and profession. So I'll find out what is my total income. From total income, what is the part of expenses allowed, I'll deduct it, and then what I achieve is a profit. And this value of profit is taxable as company tax. For company, income which is earned over the expenses is a taxable. Like individuals, here salary is not something because I'm not doing authority or maintaining a relationship of employer-employee. I'm just considering a trading activity and earn income out of trading activity. And that's why income from business and profession will consider revenue minus expenses, whatever the balance, it is totally chargeable as gains or income from business and profession. Now, I continuously using two words, business and profession. Why? Because there are some professions that I perform as an agent, as an expert, apply my skills. So for that, it can be suppose I'm cooking food, I'm driving a car, making a drawing, I'm planning some activity, I'm singing, I'm dancing, I'm doing yoga or taking yoga. So these are personal skills. So business and profession, these two words are repeatedly used instead of only income from business. Now, as per IRS, what is business activity? Any activity which is conducted As per the primary purpose or objective of business, it is business. So here, what is important that it should be conducted and it should be for the business purpose. But if it is like hobby or personal interest, these expenses are strictly not allowed. So for me, importance is that they are conducted and the primary purpose of earning income or profit should be there. Then second, activity must be continued and regular. Only seasonal or occasional, if I do any activity, that will not be called as a business. Third, I should report all these activities either by Schedule C, that is form number 140, or under different declarations of sole proprietorship and so on. If declaration or explanation is not available from my side, then these activities of expenses or income to recognize as business or non-business will be difficult. And if they are not recognized properly or categorized properly, in that case, the wrong calculations and penalties will be charged to the business owners. So it need to take care. Now let's talk about what is reporting of expense and income as per Schedule C. Schedule C overviews the gross receipts and sales. It talks about material return and allowances allowed. It talks about various kind of expenses and income which are part of business. When we categorize these expenses as a business, ordinary, necessary, depreciation, and others, then we have to do the accounting based on the purpose of that business. And in the last, we have to arrange the comparative lower prices of inventory, purchase, labor cost, and material by considering market price and cost price, which are low we need to consider. Now, what counted as a business income? Any gross receipt for products or service or a combination of both. If any income which is deducted as the bad debts and recovered, if any interest which is recovered, any rent from business property recovered, any royalty or patents or copyright charges received, these are all computed as business income. Now, if patents, goodwill, and copyrights they are commercialized, then only they are allowed. If they are only created for the purpose of research and there is no commercial application, then these are not counted as business income. Now, as per accounting standard, ordinary and necessary is the most important. Any businesses in ordinary case as a necessity we need to make to maintain the business decorum, to maintain the business activity, they are allowed as deduction. But the expenses which are not part of core business are not allowed. For example, if I spend 1 lakh rupees in daughter's marriage, that is a non-business activity and that will not be allowed. So only those business activities which are directly into business are allowed. Now these are certain examples. I'll wait for some time and then I'll start explanation. So please read the slide in 2 3 minutes. So if I'm an advertising person, then these are my expenses. If I'm providing some professional service as a lawyer, as chartered accountant, as a driver, as a gardener, then these are the expenses. If I'm performing repairs and maintenance, then these are the certain examples. And if I'm doing some supplies or work in office, so these are expenses. So these are certain ordinary and necessary expenses, and these are always considered as expenses of business. And for these expenses, up to actual price paid, I can be getting exemption. Now, first is vehicle expenses. As per actual expense method, what are the actual expenses I incurred for petrol, repairs, tires, insurance, registration, and depreciation, along with vehicle loan interest. If I have proper record, they are allowed to show for deduction. But if I lock or I avoid proving the evidences that they belong to business, then they are not allowed. In 2024, 60% per mile or 65 per mile are simplified deductions. Now, 1 mile equal to 1.78 kilometers. So, when I want to claim concession from tax, then I need to maintain date of application. It can be business trip or it can be bike, car, or anything. Then I have to find out what is my destination and what is starting and ending odometer and how much miles or kilometer I driven. Then considering this, I can calculate the vehicle expenses. Then I need to segregate whether it is related to my business or whether it is related to non-business. Whatever part business I can consider, but whereas whatever part non-business, I need to adjust again calculated profit or loss. Now the most important, depreciation. Depreciation is hidden source of income which is creating a provision and showing as loss, but actually this provision made is never utilized, but it's utilized internally only. So it's a hidden profit. What I need to do about depreciation is to first understand what is current method of depreciation. It can be fixed percentage or it can be fixed amount. After considering, I have to classify the asset and find out which category it belongs. There is 16-digit classification code available for each product. In case if the product is new, the researcher or organization need to define the product and then finalize the financial position so that goods and services tax will be applied. The form number 4562 is required to estimate and declare what are your business expenses. Whereas as per section 17, deductions like capital, property, salary, if you have earned earlier, then for same profit against same deduction claiming is not allowed. You should have different source of claiming deductions. In case if I have paid the bonus, then bonus paid to all employees is allowed as deduction. But if I pay bonus to the specific people, they are not allowed as deduction. Now there are certain examples of deductions. So what we do, employee compensation. So this is list that these expenses are of business. So please go through the list. If any doubt, ask me. Otherwise, move further. So this is all about our third unit. For anything doubt, please go to the syllabus and let me know, because in next lecture we're going to start our next unit, that is capital gain. Thank you.